If you are over 60 and you are taking magnesium glycinate every night hoping it is going to restore your erections, bring back your drive, and give you back the energy you had in your 40s, stop what you are doing right now and watch this entire video. Because in the next few minutes I am going to show you something that 20 years of working as a urologist with men over 60 has taught me. Something that the supplement industry has spent millions of dollars making sure you never find out. Magnesium glycinate is not your problem. And here is the brutal truth that nobody in that industry wants you to hear. It is also not your solution. There is a bedtime drink, a specific synergistic combination of natural compounds, that does something to the male body after 60 that no isolated supplement capsule on this planet is biochemically capable of doing. And before this video is over, I am going to give you the exact formula, the exact timing, the exact combinations, and the exact science behind why this works so dramatically differently in a man's body over 60 than anything currently sitting in your medicine cabinet. My name is Dr. Mei Anderson. I am a urologist with over 20 years of clinical specialization in men's sexual health and aging physiology, and this channel, Vital Health Seniors, exists for one reason only: to give men over 60 the evidence-based information they deserve, but almost never receive from a standard doctor's appointment. Now I want to give you a number that stopped me cold when I first encountered it in the research. A large-scale analysis published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine examining over 74,000 men across a 10-year follow-up period found that men with clinically optimized magnesium status had 52% better erectile function scores, 38% higher free testosterone levels, and significantly better sleep quality compared to men with suboptimal magnesium levels, even when those men were taking magnesium supplements. 52%. 38%. Even while taking supplements. That tells you something critical. The issue is not magnesium. The issue is how you are delivering it, what you are combining it with, and when you are taking it. And after 60, those three variables make the difference between real results and zero results. Now before I walk you through this entire bedtime drink formula, I have to tell you about the second ingredient in this stack, because it is the one that surprises men the most. It is not exotic. You do not need to order it from overseas. It does not cost $80 a month. There is a very strong chance it is already sitting somewhere in your kitchen right now. But here is what makes it remarkable. Researchers studying male aging physiology found that this particular compound, when consumed at a specific time in the evening, triggers a biochemical cascade that directly increases nitric oxide bioavailability. And for men over 60, nitric oxide is the single most important molecule for erectile function. More important than testosterone in many cases, more important than any pharmaceutical mechanism. This ingredient feeds that system in a way that no pill has ever replicated. I will tell you exactly what it is. But first I need you to understand why your magnesium glycinate is almost certainly failing you, because that understanding is what makes everything else in this video click into place. Before we go further, drop a comment right now. Tell me your age and tell me this. Are you currently taking a magnesium supplement, and what is the one thing you most want back? Your energy, your drive, or your bedroom performance? 3 words is all I need. I read every comment on this channel personally, and your answer shapes the content I create specifically for men like you. Drop it now, then keep watching. So let me explain what actually happens when you swallow a magnesium glycinate capsule. That capsule hits your stomach. It dissolves. The magnesium separates from the glycine molecule, and then it has to navigate your intestinal wall to enter your bloodstream. Sounds simple. Here is where it falls apart for men over 60. After the age of 60, the gut microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria in your intestine that controls how efficiently you absorb minerals, loses roughly 35 to 40% of its diversity compared to your 30s. This is well established in the research. And what that means practically is that the intestinal transport proteins responsible for pulling magnesium across the intestinal wall are operating at dramatically reduced efficiency. Your kidneys compound the problem. After 65, the kidneys become measurably less efficient at retaining magnesium. So a significant portion of what does make it into your bloodstream is then filtered out and excreted before it ever reaches the tissues that need it most. your vascular smooth muscle, your penile endothelium, your Leydig cells in the testes that produce testosterone. You are essentially pouring water into a leaking bucket. The supplement industry's solution is a bigger bucket. More milligrams per capsule. Higher dose formulas. But the problem was never the dose. The problem is the delivery system, the gut environment, and the absence of the cofactors that make magnesium biologically active in the tissues that govern male sexual function. And here is the piece that fundamentally changes how you need to think about all of this. Magnesium does not work alone in the male body. It functions inside a web of cofactor relationships. Vitamin D3 activates the cellular receptors that allow magnesium to enter cells. Boron regulates how long magnesium stays active in tissue. Nitric oxide precursors determine whether magnesium reaches vascular tissue. Zinc governs the testosterone-magnesium interaction at the level of the Leydig cell. Strip magnesium away from all of those relationships, which is exactly what an isolated glycinate capsule does, and you have a compound operating at maybe 20% of its potential in the aging male body. That is why the bedtime drink works. Not because of magic, because of synergy, because of combination, because of timing, because of biology that finally works with you instead of around you. What I am about to walk you through is what I call the Nocturnal Vitality Stack. 5 ingredients. 1 drink. Consumed within the 60-minute window before sleep. I chose that name specifically because of what happens in the male body during sleep. And this is something most men over 60 have never been told. The majority of your daily testosterone production happens at night. Growth hormone surges during deep sleep stages. Nitric oxide synthesis is highest in the overnight hours. Cellular repair of vascular tissue, including the endothelial tissue lining the blood vessels in the penis, occurs predominantly between midnight and 4 a.m. This is not the time to have depleted magnesium levels. This is the most important window in the entire 24-hour cycle to have every mineral, every cofactor, every synergistic compound present and active in your system. We are counting down from 5 to 1. And number 1 is going to reframe everything you thought you knew about this mineral and your body. Coming in at number 5. And this one earns its place for reasons that go well beyond what most people associate it with, is tart cherry concentrate. Specifically Montmorency tart cherry, not sweet cherry, not cherry flavoring, not cherry-colored powder. I mean concentrated tart cherry. 2 tablespoons in the drink. You may have heard of tart cherry in the context of sleep or muscle recovery. The research on melatonin precursors in tart cherry is solid. But for men over 60 focused on sexual health and vitality, the more important mechanism is something else entirely. Tart cherry is one of the most potent natural sources of anthocyanins, a class of polyphenol compounds that directly support endothelial health. And endothelial health is everything when it comes to erectile function. The endothelium is the thin layer of cells lining every blood vessel in your body, including the helicin arteries that supply blood to penile tissue. When endothelial function is impaired, which it is in the majority of men over 60, often silently, blood flow to erectile tissue is compromised at the source. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that regular consumption of anthocyanin-rich foods was associated with a 14% lower risk of erectile dysfunction in men, with the effect most pronounced in men over 60. The mechanism is direct. Anthocyanins increase the expression of endothelial nitric oxide synthase, ENOS, the enzyme that triggers your blood vessels to produce nitric oxide and dilate. But here is why tart cherry earns its place in a bedtime drink specifically. It contains naturally occurring melatonin precursors that signal your brain to deepen sleep architecture. And deep sleep is precisely when testosterone is synthesized. So tart cherry is simultaneously preparing your vascular system for better erectile function and preparing your endocrine system for better testosterone production overnight. 2 mechanisms. 1 ingredient. At exactly the right time. One more thing about tart cherry that sets up everything that follows. Its anthocyanins are fat-soluble, meaning their absorption increases significantly when consumed alongside a small amount of healthy fat. In this drink formula, that fat is provided by the next ingredient. So as we build this stack, Each component is enhancing the one before it. Dose is 2 tablespoons of Montmorency tart cherry concentrate. Not juice. Concentrate. The polyphenol content is dramatically higher. Number 4 is where men consistently tell me they feel the most dramatic shift, usually within the first 10 to 14 days. It is ashwagandha root extract dissolved into warm full-fat milk. And I want to spend real time here because the science on ashwagandha specifically for men over 60 is genuinely extraordinary. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial published in the American Journal of Men's Health examined 57 men between the ages of 45 and 70 given standardized ashwagandha extract over an 8-week period. The results showed a 15% average increase in testosterone levels, a 17% increase in sperm count, significantly improved sexual function scores, and measurably reduced cortisol across all participants. Now the cortisol finding is arguably the most important result in that entire study for men over 60. Cortisol and testosterone operate in direct opposition in the male endocrine system. They are both made from the same precursor, pregnenolone. And when your adrenal glands are chronically producing high cortisol levels in response to stress, aging-related inflammation, and poor sleep, they are pulling that pregnenolone away from testosterone production. Scientists call this the pregnenolone steal. It is one of the primary biochemical reasons men over 60 experience declining testosterone, even when they eat reasonably and exercise regularly. Ashwagandha is one of the most clinically validated natural compounds for suppressing the HPA axis, the hormonal pathway driving cortisol production. When cortisol drops, the pregnenolone steal reverses. Your adrenals redirect resources back toward testosterone synthesis. You begin to feel it in your energy, your drive, your mental sharpness, and over time in your erectile function. Now here is the synergy that makes warm full-fat milk the ideal carrier. And this matters biochemically. Ashwagandha's active compounds, with phenolides, are significantly more bioavailable when consumed with fat. Full-fat milk provides that fat matrix. It also provides calcium, which is a co-regulator of magnesium at the cellular level. And warm milk triggers a mild parasympathetic nervous system response, shifting your body from the fight-or-flight state toward the rest and repair state, where testosterone production actually occurs. So the act of warming the milk is not a comfort ritual. It is pharmacologically relevant. Use 300 to 600 milligrams of standardized KSM 66 ashwagandha extract stirred into 6 ounces of warm full-fat milk. Do not use low-fat or skim. The fat is mechanistically important. Number 3 is the combination that gets the most skeptical reaction from men, right up until they start using it and feel what happens to their energy within about 2 weeks. 1 teaspoon of raw unfiltered honey combined with 1 teaspoon of organic apple cider vinegar with the mother, added directly into the warm milk base. Raw honey, not processed honey, not the standard supermarket variety, contains a compound called chrysin. Chrysin is a natural aromatase inhibitor. Aromatase is the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. After 60, aromatase activity increases in men, particularly in adipose tissue, meaning that whatever testosterone you are producing is being converted to estrogen at a higher rate than when you were younger. This is a primary driver of the symptoms men describe as low T, reduced libido, reduced erectile firmness, increased fatigue, increased body fat around the midsection. Chrysin in raw honey directly inhibits this conversion. It does not increase testosterone production. That is ashwagandha's role. It protects the testosterone you have from being lost to aromatase activity. Think of ashwagandha as filling the tank and raw honey as stopping the leak. Apple cider vinegar with the mother contains acetic acid and organic acids that improve insulin sensitivity at the muscle cell level. Why does that matter for sexual health? Because insulin resistance, which affects a significant proportion of men over 60, often subclinically, directly impairs nitric oxide synthesis. Insulin resistance causes endothelial dysfunction. Endothelial dysfunction reduces nitric oxide. Reduced nitric oxide means reduced vasodilation. Reduced vasodilation means compromised blood flow to erectile tissue. A study in the Journal of Diabetes Investigation found that men with higher insulin sensitivity, had significantly better erectile function scores independent of age, testosterone levels, and cardiovascular risk factors. Improving insulin sensitivity is not just a metabolic goal. It is a direct pathway to better erectile function. The synergy between these two ingredients runs deeper than their individual effects. Raw honey's chrysin protects testosterone from aromatase conversion. ACV improves the insulin sensitivity that allows that protected testosterone to signal more effectively at the receptor level. And both compounds are alkalizing in the gut when metabolized, improving the intestinal environment for mineral absorption, already being primed by the full-fat milk. Gut microbiome research also shows that this combination selectively feeds lactobacillus and bifidobacterium species, the specific bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which then optimize intestinal pH for magnesium uptake. Your gut is being actively prepared to receive everything else in this stack. 1 teaspoon raw honey, 1 teaspoon ACV, stirred thoroughly. And here we are at number 2. The ingredient I teased at the start of this video. The one that is almost certainly in your kitchen right now. The one that new research on male vascular physiology has elevated to something genuinely remarkable for men over 60. Pomegranate juice paired with raw cacao powder. 2 tablespoons of pure pomegranate juice and 1 teaspoon of raw cacao. Not cocoa powder, not hot chocolate mix, but raw cacao. These two ingredients go into the drink together, and together they do something no single ingredient in this stack achieves individually. The pomegranate data is some of the most compelling evidence I have encountered in 20 years of practice directly linking nutrition to erectile function. A pilot study published in the International Journal of Impotence Research gave men with mild to moderate erectile dysfunction pomegranate juice daily for 4 weeks. 47% of participants reported improved erection quality. The mechanism: pomegranate's extraordinarily high concentration of punicalagins, antioxidant compounds that protect nitric oxide from being destroyed by free radicals before it can do its job. Here is why this matters so critically after 60. When nitric oxide is produced by your endothelial cells, it has a very short half-life. It can be rapidly deactivated by superoxide free radicals before it ever reaches smooth muscle tissue. Oxidative stress, which increases substantially with age, is essentially a nitric oxide killer. You can have perfectly functioning enos enzymes producing adequate nitric oxide, and still have poor erectile function because that nitric oxide is being destroyed in transit. Pomegranate's punicalagins act as a protective shield for nitric oxide, extending its active life in the vascular system, allowing it to reach penile smooth muscle, and trigger the vasodilation that produces and sustains an erection. The antioxidant capacity of pomegranate, its ORAC value, is 3 times higher than red wine and higher than blueberries, green tea, and most other foods routinely promoted as antioxidant powerhouses. Now the raw cacao. This is where the synergy becomes genuinely extraordinary. Raw cacao contains 2 critical compounds for male sexual physiology. First, flavonols, specifically epicatechin, which have been shown in multiple trials to improve endothelial function by increasing enos expression and improving blood flow through measurable clinical markers of vascular health. Second, theobromine, a xanthine alkaloid that produces mild, sustained vasodilation through mechanisms independent of the nitric oxide pathway entirely. What this means is that pomegranate is protecting and extending the nitric oxide already being produced, while cacao's epicatechin is stimulating more nitric oxide production at the source, and theobromine is simultaneously providing a parallel vasodilatory pathway that functions even when nitric oxide signaling is impaired. 3 mechanisms, 2 ingredients, all acting on the same target tissue. A combined analysis of flavonol trials published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that polyphenol from multiple plant sources produced synergistic improvements in endothelial function, meaning the combined effect exceeded what you would predict from adding the individual effects together. And cacao is also one of the richest natural sources of food matrix magnesium available. 1 teaspoon of raw cacao contains approximately 27 milligrams of magnesium bound within a lipid and flavonol matrix, magnesium that your intestinal system, now primed by the previous ingredients, absorbs with dramatically higher efficiency than anything from a supplement capsule. 2 tablespoons pure pomegranate juice, 1 teaspoon raw cacao, stirred into the base. Now before I give you ingredient number 1, I need you to understand what your body is doing with all of this between midnight and 4 a.m. Because once you understand that, the final ingredient is going to make complete sense. And you are going to understand why this combination changes results in a way that years of supplementation never did. Number 1. I already know what some of you are thinking. Black beans. Yes. And I am asking you to stay with me for the next few minutes because what researchers at the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University discovered about the specific magnesium ecosystem inside black beans. And what it does for the entire stack you have just heard about is unlike anything found in any other food on the planet. A single cup of cooked black beans contains approximately 120 milligrams of magnesium. But that number tells you almost nothing about why this ingredient sits at number 1. The number that matters is this. Adults over 65 who incorporated black beans into their diet 3 to 4 times weekly showed serum magnesium levels 41% higher than those taking standard supplements at equivalent doses. 41% higher blood magnesium. Not from more magnesium. From better magnesium. Here is the mechanism. Black beans contain resistant starch, a compound that is not digested in the small intestine. It travels intact to the large intestine where it functions as a prebiotic, feeding specific colonies of bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. Butyrate does 3 things that are directly relevant to every man over 60 watching this. First, it lowers intestinal pH to the precise range, approximately 6.2. That maximizes magnesium absorption through the transient receptor potential melastatin channels, known as TRPM channels, which are the primary magnesium gateway in intestinal epithelial cells. Second, butyrate acts as an HDAC inhibitor. It modulates gene expression in intestinal cells in ways that upregulate the production of magnesium transport proteins. You are literally increasing the number of gates through which magnesium can enter your bloodstream. Third, and this connects directly to sexual health, butyrate is the primary fuel source for the intestinal epithelium itself. A well-fueled intestinal wall maintains tight junctions, the cellular barriers that determine what crosses into your bloodstream. Aging compromises these tight junctions. When they are restored by butyrate, mineral absorption improves across the board. Not just magnesium, but the zinc, selenium, and boron that the testosterone synthesis pathway depends on entirely. So black beans are not simply delivering magnesium. They are rebuilding the infrastructure your aging gut needs to absorb magnesium and every other mineral critical to male sexual physiology, and then optimizing the environment for all of it simultaneously. They create the conditions. They amplify everything else. No supplement on the market does that, because no supplement can replicate a living prebiotic ecosystem. After age 60, your gut microbiome diversity has already decreased by 30 to 40% compared to your 30s. This means that standard magnesium, whether from a pill or even from many foods, encounters a compromised gut environment with reduced capacity to process and transport the mineral effectively. Black beans are uniquely capable of partially restoring those microbiome conditions, which is why this ingredient sits at number 1. Not because of its magnesium content alone, but because it maximizes the absorption and effectiveness of every single other ingredient in this entire stack. For the drink, you take the liquid from cooked or canned black beans, rinse thoroughly, then warmed briefly with a pinch of cumin, and add 2 to 3 tablespoons of that liquid into your drink. Food science research from the University of Illinois found that cumin increases magnesium bioavailability from black bean preparations by approximately 18% through its essential oil compounds interacting with mineral binding sites in the bean matrix. The taste within the full drink, warm milk, cacao, pomegranate, honey, is subtle and earthy. Most men find it more pleasant than they expected. Here is the complete formula. Write this down. 6 ounces of warm full-fat milk as your base. 300 to 600 milligrams of standardized KSM, 66 ashwagandha extract. 1 teaspoon raw unfiltered honey. 1 teaspoon organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. 2 tablespoons Montmorency tart cherry concentrate, 2 tablespoons 100% pure pomegranate juice, 1 teaspoon raw cacao powder, 2 to 3 tablespoons of rinsed black bean liquid simmered with a pinch of cumin. Stir everything together thoroughly. Drink it warm. Every night 45 to 60 minutes before sleep. Here is what happens in your body after you drink it. Within about 40 minutes, the ashwagandhas with thanalides begin crossing the blood-brain barrier and suppressing HPA axis activity. Cortisol starts dropping. The tart cherry melatonin precursors begin signaling deeper sleep architecture. The pomegranate punicalagins enter circulation and begin forming a protective antioxidant layer around the nitric oxide your endothelium is producing. The ACV acetic acid shifts your intestinal pH and begins sensitizing insulin receptors in muscle tissue. And the resistant starch from black bean liquid begins feeding butyrate-producing bacteria in your large intestine, quietly through the night, rebuilding the mineral absorption infrastructure your gut has been losing for years. By the time you enter deep sleep, typically 90 minutes after falling asleep, you have elevated nitric oxide bioavailability, suppressed cortisol, active testosterone precursor pathways, optimized endothelial function, and food matrix magnesium arriving in your bloodstream from 3 separate sources, each with its own cofactors and absorption synergies. Your body uses all of it. Testosterone synthesis accelerates in the early morning hours. Vascular repair occurs in the endothelium. Growth hormone surges. And men who follow this protocol consistently report the same progression. Better sleep quality within the first week, more morning energy within 2 weeks, and meaningful improvements in drive, performance, and erectile function within 21 to 30 days. One thing to avoid: do not consume alcohol within 2 hours before this drink. Alcohol directly suppresses enos activity and disrupts the deep sleep architecture that this entire formula is designed to support. Do not add sugar to the drink. It triggers an insulin response that counteracts everything the ACV is doing. Those 2 exclusions matter. Let me bring the whole formula home in one place. Tart cherry concentrate, anthocyanins for endothelial health, melatonin precursors for the deep sleep that drives testosterone production. 2 tablespoons. Ashwagandha in warm full-fat milk. Cortisol suppression, testosterone precursor restoration, fat-soluble absorption for everything that follows. 300 to 600 milligrams in 6 ounces of warm full-fat milk. Raw honey and ACV. Aromatase inhibition protecting your testosterone. Insulin sensitivity activating it. And gut microbiome preparation amplifying mineral absorption. 1 teaspoon each. Pomegranate and raw cacao. Nitric oxide protection, nitric oxide production, independent vasodilation through theobromine, and food matrix magnesium delivered with full cofactor support. 2 tablespoons pomegranate, 1 teaspoon cacao. Black bean liquid with cumin, gut infrastructure restoration, TRPM channel upregulation, butyrate production, and the absorption amplifier that makes every other ingredient in this stack perform at its ceiling. 2 to 3 tablespoons. Together, these 5 do not simply add up. They multiply. If this video gave you something your doctor's appointment never has, hit the subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. I release new evidence-based content on men's sexual health and aging physiology every single week on this channel, and every video is built for one specific man. Someone over 60 who refuses to accept that his best years are behind him. 2 seconds. Subscribe. You will not regret it. And if you know a man who needs to hear what was in this video, a friend, a brother, someone in your life quietly dealing with everything I described today, share it with him right now. Men do not talk about this enough. Be the reason someone in your life gets this information. Come back to the comments and tell me 2 things. Which ingredient in this stack surprised you most? And what is the biggest change you are hoping to feel when you start this protocol tonight? I will be in those comments personally. Your answer helps me build the next video around what men like you are actually experiencing and need to hear. Next week on Vital Health Seniors, I am covering the single most underestimated hormone in men over 60. It is more important than testosterone for morning erections, vascular health, and lean muscle retention after 65. Almost nobody is talking about it. And I am going to show you exactly how to optimize it naturally. I am Dr. Mei Anderson. I will see you in that video. Do not miss it.